My name is Ria Franks. I'm 33 years old. At 32, I was diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer. When I called my mother sobbing from the oncologist's office, she said coldly, "Your brother Austin has a runny nose. I need to take care of him first." She lived only 30 minutes away. He was already 30 years old. I endured surgery and 6 months of chemotherapy completely alone. Not one visit, not one call, not one card. Then came my final scan. My oncologist closed the door, looked straight at me, and said, "Before I give you the results, there's something from 2001 you were never supposed to see." She placed an old file on the table, my genetic test when I was just 8 years old. What she revealed next made my blood run cold. The cancer wasn't even the worst betrayal my family committed against me. Before I continue with the story, if you're feeling angry, shocked, or emotionally moved right now, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Only like it if you genuinely feel connected. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. This story gets so much darker and more painful, and what happened next will leave you absolutely speechless. I had what most people would call a normal life. I was a marketing manager at a boutique firm in Nashville. 3 years into the job, comfortable in my East Nashville apartment, yoga on weekends when I remembered. I dated a guy named Nathan for about 3 years. Nothing serious, just easy company. My biggest worry that March morning in 2025 was whether our client would approve the rebrand pitch I'd spent 2 weeks perfecting. I was 32 years old, healthy, living the life I'd built for myself after leaving home at 23. My relationship with my parents had always been distant. They lived in Franklin, just 30 minutes south on Holland 65, but I only visited on major holidays. My mother's texts were always the same. "Austin got promoted again." Or, "Austin and Cassidy are looking at houses." I'd respond with a thumbs up. That was our relationship. Austin was my younger brother by 2 years, the one who'd stayed close to home, the one who called mom every Sunday, the one whose life updates filled her conversation. I didn't think much of it. Families have dynamics. Some kids are closer to their parents than others. What I didn't know then was that the distance wasn't random. It was designed. My last real memory of my grandmother was from 1999, when I was 6 years old. She died of ovarian cancer that summer. I remember her hand, how thin it got toward the end. I remember my mother crying in the hospital bathroom, the sound echoing off the tiles. I remember my father saying, "She's at peace now," in that voice adults use when they're trying to convince themselves. Austin was only 4. He asked, "Will mommy get sick too?" My parents exchanged a look I didn't understand then. 3 months after my grandmother died, my mother got a genetic test. 2 years later, so did Austin and I. I don't remember the test itself. Just a blood draw, a needle, my mother holding my hand. I was 8. I signed something with my careful child's handwriting, the way you do when adults tell you to. One of those test results would stay secret for 24 years. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In early 2025, I started feeling off, bloated, unusually full after small meals, occasional pelvic pain that I told myself was just a bad period or stress from work. Women are conditioned to downplay our pain. I was good at it. I mentioned it to Nathan. He suggested IBS, maybe cutting back on coffee. I considered making a doctor's appointment, but work was busy. The rebrand pitch, the client meetings, the quarterly review. Then one night in late February, the pain got sharp. Not, "Take an Advil and sleep it off," sharp. Sharp enough that I sat on my bathroom floor at 2 a.m., hands pressed against my abdomen, breathing through it until it passed. I made an appointment the next morning. I had no idea that appointment would end with the word cancer. But somewhere, in a file I'd never seen, that word had been waiting for me since I was 8 years old. The doctor's office was routine at first. My PCP did a pelvic exam, and I saw her face change. She felt something. Ordered an urgent ultrasound. Same day. The ultrasound tech was chatty before she started, asking about my weekend plans, whether I'd tried the new coffee place on Fifth Avenue. When she saw the screen, she stopped talking. Her face went blank. I need to get the radiologist. That's when I knew. The radiologist came in. She didn't smile. We need to get you to oncology immediately. There's a mass, and we need to rule out cancer. Rule out. As if we were hoping for a different answer. They rushed me to the oncology department that same afternoon. I met Dr. Patricia Okoye for the first time in an exam room with anatomy posters on the wall and a box of tissues on her desk. She ordered a CA-125 blood test. The number came back 862. Normal is under 35. The CT scan showed what they were afraid of. A 12-centimeter mass on my left ovary. Metastasis to the peritoneum. Stage 3C. Dr. Okoye sat across from me, her hands folded on the desk. Behind her, diplomas from Johns Hopkins and Vanderbilt. In front of her, my file, my future. The imaging and lab work indicate high-grade serous ovarian carcinoma, stage 3C, she said. Her voice was kind but clear. I know this is overwhelming. I'm going to walk you through everything. I couldn't process it. Stage 3C? Cancer. The words didn't feel real. She explained the treatment plan. Surgery in 2 weeks. Debulking surgery to remove as much cancer as possible. Plus a hysterectomy, bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy, then 6 cycles of chemotherapy, carboplatin and paclitaxel. 6 months of my life. She talked about prognosis, 5-year survival rates, 30 to 40%. I heard the numbers. I couldn't think past tomorrow. Dr. Okoye asked routine family history questions. Any history of breast or ovarian cancer in your family? I mentioned my grandmother. Did your mother ever have genetic testing? Kick. I don't think so. I didn't know I was wrong. I didn't know my mother had tested positive for BRCA2 in 1999. I didn't know that she knew, and had known for 26 years, exactly what killed her mother. Dr. Okoye made a note in my file. Then she asked the question that would later matter. Is there someone you'd like to call? Family? Partner? You shouldn't process this alone. I thought of my mother. I needed my mother. I picked up my phone in the parking garage, level P3, next to a concrete pillar, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. The engine was still running. I don't know why I didn't turn it off. I called her. I was crying so hard I could barely speak. Mom, I said, I have cancer, ovarian cancer, stage 3. They're saying I need surgery in 2 weeks and then 6 months of chemo, and I don't know what to do, and I'm scared, and... There was silence on the other end, long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then she said, "Oh, honey, that's terrible. When is the surgery?" 2 weeks. March 28th. Can you... Oh, well, Austin has this cold. It's really bad, and I'm worried about him. Let me see how he is, and I'll try to come up when I can. I sat in my car. Austin was 30 years old. He had a cold. I had stage 3 cancer. I sat there for 23 minutes after hanging up. I counted them later, looking at my phone log. Just sitting. Engine running. Fluorescent parking garage lights buzzing overhead. I called Nathan. He was traveling for work, couldn't come back early. I understood. We weren't that serious. I realized, sitting in that car, that I was going into this alone. What I didn't know then was that phone call was the first piece of a pattern I'd been missing my whole life. Surgery day was April 3rd, 2025. Nathan dropped me off at the hospital that morning before catching his flight to Denver. No family. The pre-op nurse asked, "Who's your emergency contact?" I gave them my mother's number. She never answered. There was a woman in the waiting area, Mrs. Chen, elderly, Korean, being treated for breast cancer. I'd met her a few days earlier during pre-op appointments. Just small talk in the waiting room. She saw me sitting alone that morning, walked over, and asked if anyone was with me. I shook my head. She sat down next to me. "Then I'll stay." A stranger. That's who held my hand when they wheeled me into the operating room. Mrs. Chen pressed her rosary beads into my palm. "For luck, dear." The surgery took 6 hours. When I woke up in recovery, groggy and stitched and empty, they'd taken everything. My ovaries, my uterus, every future I'd imagined that involved children. I looked around for family. Mrs. Chen was sleeping in the visitor chair. My phone had 0 messages from my mother. 1 text from Austin. "Sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Get better soon." Not feeling well, as if I had a headache. My parents clearly hadn't told him how serious it was. The 6 months that followed were a catalog of absence. Chemotherapy started in mid-April. 18 sessions scheduled between April and November. Every 2 weeks, then weekly, a rhythm of poison pumped into my veins to kill the cancer that was trying to kill me. My coworker Bridget became my lifeline. She drove me to 14 of those 18 sessions, sat with me during the infusions, brought me ginger ale and crackers when the nausea got bad. She had a full-time job and 2 kids at home, and she still showed up more than my own mother. Nathan tried. He visited when he could, but work kept him traveling, and our relationship quietly strained under the weight of cancer. We never officially broke up. We just faded. Mrs. Chen knitted me a hat for when my hair fell out. Soft blue yarn. I wore it to every session. My parents? 3 phone calls total over 6 months, each under 5 minutes. The first call was in May, during my 3rd chemo session. My hair had just started falling out in clumps that morning. I'd cried in the shower, watching it circle the drain. Mom called while I was in the infusion chair. "Hi, honey, just checking in. How are you?" I was hooked up to an IV drip of paclitaxel. My hands had neuropathy so bad I could barely feel my fingers. I'd thrown up twice that morning. Not great, Mom. "Well, hang in there. Austin's got a work thing this week. Big presentation, so we're helping him prep. I'll try to visit soon." Soon never came. The second call was on my birthday, June 15th. She remembered at least. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." "Thanks. Are you doing anything special?" Special? I was between chemo sessions. Bridget had brought me soup. That was my birthday. Not really. "Well, we love you. Austin says hi." That same day, Austin posted his engagement announcement on Facebook. He and Cassidy, beaming, her hand with the ring held up to the camera. My parents commented within minutes. "Congratulations! We're so proud." They didn't call me back after our 2-minute birthday chat. Session 7 was in late June. I developed a fever, 103.4 degrees. Neutropenic fever, Dr. Okoye explained. My white blood cell count had crashed, my immune system was shot, and any infection could kill me. I was hospitalized for 3 days. I called my father from the hospital bed, shaking under 2 blankets even though I was burning up. "Dad, I'm in the hospital. I have a really high fever and they're worried about infection and I'm scared and..." "Oh no." "Well, your mother's with Austin right now. He's stressed about the wedding planning and you know how your mother is with these things. Can you ask a neighbor for help?" A neighbor. I hung up, pressed the call button for the nurse, asked for more blankets instead. In late October, between my 16th and 17th chemo sessions, my parents threw Austin's engagement party Franklin, Tennessee. Their house. The house I grew up in. I wasn't invited. I saw the photos on Facebook. 32 pictures. My mother in the same blue floral dress she wore to my college graduation, beaming, both arms around Austin and Cassidy. My father in a suit, laughing. The dining room table covered in food. A banner. Congratulations, Austin and Cassidy. The caption, Our perfect family growing. A family friend commented, How's Rhea doing? My mother responded, She's managing. That's it, managing. No mention of cancer. No mention that I was 3 weeks away from my 17th chemo session. No mention that their daughter was fighting for her life 30 minutes north while they celebrated. I screenshotted every photo. I don't know why. Some part of me was building a case I couldn't name yet. November 18th, 2025. My final chemo session. Bridget brought champagne-shaped sparkling cider. Mrs. Chen brought cupcakes with Warrior written in pink icing. The nurses who'd seen me every week for 6 months clapped when I walked in. Nurse Jenna hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. There's a bell in the chemo ward. You ring it when you finish treatment. A little brass bell mounted on the wall. I rang it. 2 minutes and 11 seconds. That's how long the phone call lasted when I told my father I'd finished chemo. That's great, honey, he said. He sounded distracted. Your mother's at Austin's picking out china patterns. I'll tell her you called. That night, I sat in my apartment with the blue hat Mrs. Chen had made me, the cupcake crumbs on my coffee table, and understood something I'd been avoiding. My parents weren't coming. They'd never been coming. Final scan was scheduled for December 15th. Results would tell me if the treatment worked, if the cancer was gone, if I had a future. I didn't ask my parents to come with me. I'd learned. The PET/CT scan took 90 minutes. I changed into a hospital gown, drank the contrast, lay still in the machine, while it mapped my body for any remaining cancer. Then I waited in Dr. Okoye's office for results. It was the same office as my first visit. Same anatomy posters, same diplomas on the wall, same box of tissues on her desk. Everything familiar now. This room had become part of my life. Dr. Okoye came in. She had an unusual expression, not the cancer results face I'd learned to read over the past 9 months. Something else. She sat down. Your scan looks good, she said. No evidence of disease. I started to cry. Relief. Terror. The strange emptiness of good news after expecting the worst for so long. She let me cry for a moment. Then she said quietly, But before you leave, there's something else we need to discuss. She had a manila folder I hadn't seen before. When we requested your family medical records for your file, it's standard protocol for ovarian cancer patients. The genetic testing lab sent us something. She paused. Something I don't think your parents wanted you to see. She slid the folder across the desk. My hands were still shaking from the scan results. Now they shook harder. The lab that tested your mother back in 1999, MedGen Diagnostics in Memphis. They also tested you and your brother in 2001. Their records show both of you were tested. She opened the folder. Austin tested negative. You tested positive. I stared at her. I don't understand. I've never been tested. She turned the folder so I could see. Official lab letterhead. MedGen Diagnostics. My name. Patient age, 8 years. Test date, April 15th, 2001. Result, BRCA, 2 gene mutation, positive. Below that, risk percentages in bold, 69% lifetime breast cancer risk, 39% lifetime ovarian cancer risk. At the bottom, 2 signatures. My child's signature on the consent form. I didn't remember signing it. And my parents' signatures. Guardian consent. You were tested, Dr. Okoye said gently. You just weren't told. My brain couldn't process it. 8 years old, 2001. That was 24 years ago. Your parents received these results, she continued. Both tests were sent to the same address in Franklin. She showed me another page. Austin's test result. Same format, same lab, same date. April 15th, 2001. Austin Franks, age 6, B, R, C, A2, negative. And then I remembered. Austin's negative test result has been framed on my parents' wall since I was a teenager. Above the TV in the family room, between their wedding photo and Austin's high school graduation picture. I've walked past it 1,000 times. It says BRCA2, negative, in big letters. They had it professionally framed, gold frame, matted. My mother used to tell dinner guests, Austin dodged the bullet. I never knew I'd been shot. I don't. I couldn't form words. How is this possible? Dr. Okoye's face was careful, controlled. I could see her choosing her words. There's more, she said. She pulled out more pages. 4 letters. All on genetic counseling office letterhead. All addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Paul Franks. These were in the file the lab sent over. The genetic counselor who managed your mother's case, Dr. Rebecca Walsh, she kept trying to reach your family for 19 years. The first letter was dated April 22, 2001, 1 week after my test results. I read it. My hands were shaking so badly the paper rattled. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Franks, thank you for bringing Austin and Rhea in for BRCA2 testing following your positive result. I'm pleased to share that Austin tested negative. This means he did not inherit the mutation, and his cancer risk remains at population baseline. However, Rhea's result requires immediate attention and careful management. Rhea tested positive for the same BRCA2 mutation that caused your mother's ovarian cancer. This means Rhea will require enhanced breast surveillance beginning in her early 20s, including annual MRI and mammography starting by age 25. By her early 30s, we will need to discuss risk-reducing salpingo-oophorectomy, removal of ovaries and fallopian tubes, to prevent ovarian cancer. Early intervention can reduce her breast cancer risk by 85 to 90% and ovarian cancer risk by approximately 85%. She should be enrolled in our high-risk surveillance program immediately. By adolescence, age 14 to 16, Rhea should be informed of her status in an age-appropriate manner so she can participate in her healthcare decisions. This is crucial. BRCA2-associated ovarian cancer is highly preventable with proper surveillance and prophylactic surgery. Please schedule a follow-up appointment within 2 weeks to discuss Rhea's long-term management plan. Sincerely, Dr. Rebecca Walsh, genetic counselor. At the bottom, a handwritten note. Please call to schedule follow-up within 2 weeks. There was no record they ever called. I couldn't breathe. 85% prevention rate. They knew. They knew when I was 8 years old that I'd probably get this cancer. They knew about the surgery that could prevent it. They never told me. There are 3 more letters, Dr. Okoye said quietly. The second letter was dated October 2007. I was 14. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Franks, I'm writing again regarding Rhea's BRCA2 positive status. Our records show she has not been enrolled in our surveillance program. At age 14, Rhea should now be informed of her genetic status in an age-appropriate manner, allowing her to begin participating in her healthcare decisions. Adolescence is the recommended time for disclosure. This allows young people to understand their risk, make informed choices about their health, and prepare for the surveillance that will be necessary in their 20s. Please contact our office immediately to schedule a family counseling session for disclosure. Rhea's health outcomes are directly connected to early intervention. Sincerely, Dr. Rebecca Walsh. The envelope was marked certified mail. Signature required. The signature on the receipt, Jennifer Franks. My mother. October 18th, 2007. She signed for it. She read it. She threw it away. I was 14, starting high school, worried about boys and grades and whether I'd make the soccer team. And somewhere in my house there was a letter saying I had a cancer gene. The third letter was dated March 2015. I was 22. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Franks, our records indicate that Rhea Franks, now 22 years old, has never been enrolled in BRCA2 surveillance despite her positive test result in 2001. She is now past the age where enhanced breast screening should have begun. Please have Rhea contact our office immediately. Every year of delayed surveillance increases her risk. Time-sensitive medical care is being missed. At this age, Rhea should be receiving annual breast MRI, annual mammography, clinical breast exams every 6 months, genetic counseling for family planning, discussion of prophylactic surgery options for her late 20s/early 30s. Delay in implementing this protocol significantly increases her cancer risk. The envelope on this one was marked, Return to Sender. Moved. No forwarding address. My parents lived at 412 Maple Ridge Drive, Franklin, Tennessee from 1995 to 2023. They never moved. They lied to the post office. The fourth letter was dated June 2019. I was 26. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Franks, this is my final attempt to contact you regarding Rhea Franks's BRCA2 positive status. Rhea is now 26 years old, the optimal age for discussing risk-reducing salpingo-oophorectomy per BRCA2 management guidelines. Our high-risk clinic has attempted to contact your family multiple times over the past 18 years. Rhea has never been seen at our clinic. We have no record of her receiving the surveillance care essential for BRCA2 positive individuals. I must emphasize, failure to inform a patient of known positive genetic test results may constitute medical negligence. Rhea has the right to her own medical information. She has the right to make informed decisions about her health. If Rhea does not contact our clinic within 30 days, I will be documenting this case with the State Medical Ethics Board as a patient rights violation. Sincerely, Dr. Rebecca Walsh. The bolded text jumped out. May constitute medical negligence. Someone tried to warn me. For 19 years, someone tried. My parents blocked them at every turn. Dr. Okoye was watching me carefully. There's one more document in the file, she said. It's from your mother. She pulled out 2 handwritten pages, blue-lined notebook paper. My mother's cursive. I recognized it immediately. The same handwriting from birthday cards, grocery lists on the fridge, the note on my college acceptance letter that said, "So proud." It was dated April 25, 2001, 10 days after my test results. She'd sent it to Dr. Walsh, apparently trying to explain why they were refusing to tell me. I read it. The counselor called about Rhea's results. Positive. I can't believe it. Austin dodged it, but she didn't. I keep thinking, if we tell her, she'll grow up afraid. Every family gathering, people will look at her with pity. The sick one. Austin will be the healthy one. She'll be defined by this gene before she even knows who she is. Maybe if we just don't say anything, she can have a normal childhood, normal teenage years, find a husband, have kids, be happy before she has to think about surgery and cancer and fear. The counselor says she needs surgery in her 30s anyway. We can tell her then. Why burden her for 20+ years with something she can't change? Austin is our son. He'll carry the Franks name forward. When he has children, they'll be Franks. Rhea will marry someday. She'll take her husband's name, join his family. Her medical care will become their responsibility. Why burden her now with anxiety about something her future in-laws will handle? Austin needs us to secure his health now. Rhea can deal with this after marriage, with her husband's support. Austin gets to be normal. Why can't she? We're giving her the gift of not knowing. I stared at that last line. The gift of not knowing. The gift I got was stage 3 cancer at 32. Austin's gift was a negative test result, a framed certificate, and parents who cared if he lived or died. I sat in Dr. Okoye's office. I didn't speak for 11 minutes. She told me later. 11 minutes of silence while my entire childhood rearranged itself in my mind. Every dismissal, every "don't worry," every time my mother said, "You're fine." She knew I wasn't fine. She knew exactly how not fine I was. I finally looked up. I asked her 3 times. I specifically asked if I should get genetic testing. Dr. Okoye nodded. When? When I was 18, 22, 28. I could remember each conversation. She always said no. Lightning doesn't strike twice. Wait until you're thinking about kids. You're too young to worry. She already had my results in a file at home. For 14 years when I was 18. For 20 years when I was 22. For 23 years when I was 28. Every time I asked, she lied. Dr. Okoye pulled out one more document, a timeline chart, 2 columns. Left column, standard BR, CA2 positive protocol. Right column, RIA's actual care. Left column listed everything I should have received. Age 14 to 16, informed of status, age-appropriate education. Age 18, genetic counseling, family planning discussion. Age 25, annual breast MRI begins. Age 25, annual mammography begins. Age 28 to 32, risk-reducing salpingo-oophorectomy discussion. Age 30 to 35, recommended surgery window. Ovarian cancer prevention rate with surgery. 85% right column was blank until one line. Age 32, stage 3, see ovarian cancer diagnosis. 24 years of blank space, then cancer. If you'd had the surgery, Dr. Okoye said carefully, at age 30 or 31, there's an 85% chance you wouldn't have cancer today. 85%. I did the math in my head. 85% chance I'd be healthy right now. 85% chance I'd still have my ovaries, my fertility, my choices, my future. And if I'd just done surveillance? I asked. Even without surgery? Annual imaging would likely have caught any changes early. Stage 1 at worst. Survival rate would be over 90%. Stage 1 instead of stage 3C. 90% survival instead of 30 to 40%. If I'd known. Dr. Okoye leaned forward. I'm required to file a report with the Medical Ethics Board. This is... She paused. I've never seen anything like this. I looked at all the papers spread across her desk. The test results. The letters. My mother's diary entry. The timeline. I need copies, I said. All of it. 3 days later, I sat in a law office on the 12th floor of a building in downtown Nashville. Jonathan Ward was the name on the door. Medical malpractice attorney. Dr. Okoye had given me his card. I laid out 47 pages of documents on his conference table. He read them for 20 minutes without speaking. Then he looked up at me. Your parents committed medical fraud against their own child, he said. They had information that could have saved your life, and they buried it. This isn't just negligence. This is deliberate harm. Can I sue them? Yes. For medical negligence, child endangerment, fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He pulled out a legal pad. What do you want? Compensation for medical costs? Punitive damages? Or do you want them to face criminal charges? I thought about it. I want them to admit what they did, I said. I want it on record. Forever. Public trial? Yes. Over the next week, we built the case. Evidence organized into exhibits. Exhibit A, Both genetic test results, Austin negative, Rhea positive, same date, April 15th, 2001. Exhibit B, 4 counselor letters documenting 19 years of ignored warnings. Exhibit C, mother's diary entry explaining the decision to conceal. Exhibit D, timeline comparison showing preventable outcome. Exhibit E, medical costs, $284,000 in treatment so far. Exhibit F, a photograph. I'd gone to my parents' house when they weren't home, walked into the family room, and photographed Austin's framed test result on the wall. Gold frame, matted, displayed like an achievement, BRCA2, negative. Proof they celebrated his result while hiding mine. Jonathan looked at the evidence. This is the strongest genetic concealment case I've ever seen, but there's one more thing we need. What? Dr. Walsh, the genetic counselor who wrote those letters. We need her to testify. Jonathan tracked down Dr. Rebecca Walsh. She was retired now, 68 years old, living in Memphis. He called her from his office, put her on speaker. Dr. Walsh, my name is Jonathan Ward. I'm an attorney representing Rhea Franks. I'm calling about... I remember Rhea, she said immediately. Her voice had a southern accent, soft but clear. I kept those letters for 24 years because I knew this would happen. I knew someday that girl would get cancer and she'd need proof that someone tried to help her. I was sitting across from Jonathan's desk. Hearing her voice, I felt something break open in my chest. I couldn't save you then, she said. She was crying. But maybe these letters can save someone else now. She agreed to testify. She still had her own copies of everything. All the letters, her clinical notes, documentation of every failed attempt to reach my family. There's something else you should know, Dr. Walsh said. Your mother called me in 2024, last year. She asked if the old test results were still on file at the lab. I froze. What did you tell her? I said yes. Genetic testing labs keep records indefinitely. She hung up without another word. My mother knew. Right before I got diagnosed, she knew the truth might surface, and she still said nothing. I filed formal complaints with every organization I could find: Tennessee Medical Ethics Board, Documentation of Failure of Disclosure, National Society of Genetic Counselors, Case Study for Policy Change, Force, Facing Our Risk of Cancer Empowered, Patient Advocacy. Each complaint included the full 47-page evidence packet. Within 48 hours, Force responded. Your case is exactly why we need genetic rights legislation. Would you be willing to share your story publicly? I said yes, but first, I needed to tell Austin. I texted him, can we meet for coffee? Need to talk about something serious. He replied, sure thing, sis. Everything okay? We met at Barista Parlor in East Nashville, December 22, 2025. He arrived in his usual way, easy smile, latte in hand, completely unaware that I was about to dismantle his understanding of our entire family. He sat down. What's up? I slid the folder across the table. We were both tested for BRCA2 when we were kids, I said. You know your result. I just found out mine. He opened the folder, saw his own negative test result first, the same one that hung on our parents' wall. Then he saw mine. BRCA2. Positive. His face drained of color. He dropped his coffee cup. It spilled across the table, dripping onto the floor. The barista came over with napkins. Austin barely noticed. You were... tested? His voice was shaking. When? How did I not know? Same day as you. April 15th, 2001. They got both results the same day. They framed yours. They hid mine. He stared at the document like it was in a language he couldn't read. I don't understand. I slid the counselor letters across the table. There's more. He read all 4 letters. I watched his face change with each one. 2001, 2007, 2015, 2019. The timeline of warnings, the pattern of obstruction. Wait, he said, looking up from the 2007 letter. When I was 13, Mom and Dad started taking me to this doctor every year. They said it was for checkups because of Grandma's cancer, annual appointments. They never took you? Never. I saw the memory hit him. They were monitoring me because of BRCA2. You tested negative, I said, but they still monitored you. They were careful with you. His hands were shaking. What did they tell you? When you asked about cancer risk? I recited her exact words. Lightning doesn't strike twice. Austin's face crumpled. She told me I dodged the bullet. She never said you were still in its path. I showed him the photo of his framed test on their wall. He stared at it. I remember when they framed this. I was about 10. Mom bought a special frame. She showed everyone who came over. Then he got quiet. Every time someone asked about family health history, they'd point to my test and say, "We're fine." He looked up at me. They used me to lie about you. You didn't know? But I should have. Jesus, Ria, I should have known something was wrong. When you got diagnosed, they told me you were going through something, but they didn't say cancer. They didn't say stage 3. They didn't... He stopped. What else don't I know? I slid the diary entry across the table. You need to read this. He read my mother's handwriting. I watched him get to the line about Austin dodged it, but she didn't. Watched him understand that our parents had categorized us, healthy son, sick daughter, when we were 6 and 8 years old. He got to the line. Austin gets to be normal. Why can't she? When he finished, he was crying. She chose me, he said. She chose me over you. She chose your normal life over my survival. I didn't ask for this. Ria, I swear to God I didn't know. If I'd known, I would have told you. I know. That's why I'm telling you now. He wiped his eyes. When are you confronting them? Soon. I'm coming with you. His voice was firm. They need to face both of us. Over the next week, Austin started remembering more. When he turned 18, our parents sat him down for the talk about BRCA2, gave him information packets, explained what to watch for, told him about surveillance protocols. They enrolled him in annual clinical breast exams. Yes, men can get breast cancer from BRCA2, though it's rarer. They set up PSA testing for prostate cancer screening when he turned 25, earlier than normal because of his theoretical risk, even though he'd tested negative. When he got engaged to Cassidy, our father pulled him aside, asked about Cassidy's family medical history, said they should think about genetic counseling before having kids. Our father said, "Our family is lucky because you tested negative." He never mentioned me at all. 30 surveillance appointments over 12 years. That's what Austin counted. Annual checkups, PSA tests, genetic counseling sessions, 1 baseline imaging MRI, 30 appointments for the brother who tested negative, 0 for the sister who tested positive. Austin looked at me across his kitchen table, both of us surrounded by his medical records. They let you get cancer, he said. They had 24 years to prevent it, and they chose not to. I can't. He couldn't finish the sentence. I'm suing them, I said, and I need you to testify. He didn't hesitate. Whatever you need. I'll give you every document they gave me, every appointment they took me to. I'll help you prove what they did. You'll lose Cassidy over this, I said. She'll want you to stay out of it. Keep the peace. I know. And Mom and Dad will disown you. Yes, I do. They let my sister get cancer. Nothing is more important than fixing this. We scheduled the confrontation for January 3rd, 2026. Austin said, I want to be there when they try to lie. I want to watch them fail. January 3rd, 2026. We drove to Franklin together. 30 minutes down I-65, past the exits I'd known my whole life. Austin didn't speak. Neither did I. Our parents' house at 412 Maple Ridge Drive looked the same as always. White siding, black shutters, the magnolia tree in the front yard. Home. Except it had never really been home for me. I just hadn't known why. My father answered the door. He looked surprised to see both of us. Rhea, Austin, what's this about? My mother came out of the kitchen. Oh, you're both here. What a nice surprise. We walked into the living room, the room I'd grown up in, the couch where I'd watched Saturday morning cartoons, the coffee table where I'd done homework, and on the wall, above the TV, Austin's framed test result. BRC A2. Negative. Gold frame. Still there. We sat on the couch. They took the armchairs. I placed my evidence folder on the coffee table. Let's talk about 2001, I said. My mother's face went pale. She knew exactly what I'd found. My father looked confused. What about 2001? I opened the folder and pulled out 2 pieces of paper, laid them side by side, Austin's negative test, my positive test, both dated April 15th, 2001. My father stared. My mother's hands were shaking. Where did you get that? My mother whispered. My oncologist requested family genetic records. The lab sent everything, including the test you never told me about. Silence. My father picked up my test result. Read it. Read it again. You were tested? He looked at my mother. Jennifer, you had her tested? We both signed the consent. She said defensively. You were there. I don't remember. He stopped. 24 years ago. He probably didn't remember, but she did. She remembered everything. We were going to tell you, my father said to me. His default response. Deflection. When? I asked. I'm 33. I already have cancer. We didn't want to worry you when you were young, my mother said. She was crying now. Real tears or performance, I couldn't tell. Austin cut in. You told me when I was 18. Why did she have to wait for cancer? My father looked between us, trying to understand. Austin, what? They told me about BRCA2 when I turned 18, Austin said. They explained everything, set up annual appointments, monitored me for 12 years. They never once suggested Rhea should be tested. I asked point blank if she should worry about Grandma's cancer. They said no. I pulled out the 4 counselor letters, placed them on the coffee table one by one. 4 letters, I said. 19 years. All ignored. My father picked them up, started reading. With each letter, his face changed. The first one, confused. The second is disturbed. The third, angry. The fourth, horrified. Jennifer, he said to my mother. Were there letters? Did doctors contact us? I was trying to protect her. You returned these letters? He held up the one marked Return to Sender. You told them we moved? I didn't want Rhea to grow up scared. I pulled out my mother's diary entry. You want to explain this? I said. Or should I read it out loud? She saw her own handwriting, physically recoiled, tried to grab it. I pulled it back. I read key passages aloud. Austin dodged it, but she didn't. Why burden her for 20+ years? Austin gets to be normal. Why can't she? We're giving her the gift of not knowing. With each line, my father's face changed. He hadn't known about the diary entry. She'd kept it even from him. Jennifer, he said slowly, what is this? The gift I got was stage 3 cancer, I said. Austin's gift was surveillance, early intervention, and parents who cared if he lived. My mother was sobbing. That's not fair. Fair? Austin interrupted. His voice was cold. You gave me 30 appointments. You gave her 0. What's fair about that? My father was reading the letters again, understanding dawning. You intercepted these, he said to my mother. You handled all the medical stuff. You must have. He looked sick. How long have you been hiding this? 24 years, I said. I pulled out the timeline comparison. Standard BRCA, 2 protocol on one side, my blank medical history on the other. The surgery recommendation highlighted, age 30 to 32. I pointed to the number, 85% prevention rate. If I'd had the surgery at 30, I said, there's an 85% chance I wouldn't have cancer today. My mother tried to speak, but surgery is serious. You took Austin to 30 appointments, I said. You took me to 0. Don't talk about risk. My father asked the question that destroyed my mother's defense. Jennifer, if Rhea had known at 25 like the doctors said, would she have this cancer right now? My mother couldn't answer. I shifted from evidence to testimony. When I called you from the oncologist's office, I said, my voice steady, controlled. I was sobbing. I'd just been told I had stage 3 cancer. You said, Austin has a runny nose. I let that sit. He was 30 years old. You didn't visit me once in 6 months. Not once. And now I know why. You couldn't look at me, because you knew this was your fault. I'm sorry, my mother said. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back my ovaries. Sorry doesn't cure cancer. Austin spoke up. His voice was shaking with controlled rage. When I got engaged, you set up genetic counseling for me and Cassidy. You never once suggested Rhea should be tested. I asked you point blank if she should worry about Grandma's cancer. You said no. He pulled out his own evidence, the genetic counseling paperwork our parents had arranged for him before his wedding. You made me complicit, he said. Every time you told people the kids are fine, you were using my health to cover up hers. You made me a lie. My father sat in silence. He had nothing to say. What defense was there? Austin delivered the final blow. I'm testifying against you, he said, in court, on the record. I'm helping Rhea prove what you did. My mother looked at him in horror. Austin, we're your parents. We love you. We made a mistake. A mistake? I said. I looked at Austin's framed test on the wall, looked back at her. Austin's negative test result is framed on your wall. Mine was in a shredder. Which one of us did you love? Silence. No answer. Because there was no answer. My father tried. What do you want from us? Nothing, I said. I wanted a mother during chemo. I wanted parents who cared. You can't give me that now. My mother was crying harder. We love you both the same. I pointed at the framed test. You framed his result. You buried mine. You celebrated his health. You hid my risk. You gave him medical care. You gave me cancer. That's not love. I stood up. Austin stood with me. I placed one final document on the coffee table. Legal notice. Lawsuit filed. Case number 26-CV-01129, Davidson County Circuit Court. Rhea Franks versus Paul and Jennifer Franks. You'll hear from my attorney, I said. We walked to the door. My mother called after us. Please don't do this. We can fix this as a family. I kept walking. Austin turned back briefly. You stopped being her family when she was 8 years old. We got in my car, sat in silence for a moment. Are you okay? Austin asked. I will be. I started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I could see our parents standing in the doorway. I didn't look back. Attorney Jonathan Ward filed the lawsuit in January. The case name in public record, Rhea Franks versus Paul and Jennifer Franks. Charges: medical negligence, child endangerment, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Damages $2.8 million. The local Nashville News picked up the story. Daughter sues parents over hidden genetic test. My parents hired an attorney, Richard Caldwell, known for defending family values cases. His first move was requesting a private settlement, $1.5 million to seal the records. NDA requiring my silence. Jonathan brought the offer to me. It's substantial. You could take it. I said no. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this so every parent who thinks about hiding their kids' genetic results sees what happens. The trial is public, or there's no deal. Trial was set for October 2026. In February, Austin gave his deposition. Under oath, he described his entire surveillance history, 30 appointments over 12 years, the genetic counseling our parents set up for his engagement, the family medical discussions where they never mentioned my risk. Most damaging testimony. They used my negative result to lie about family history. They told relatives we tested negative, plural. That wasn't true. Only I tested negative. They hid Ria's positive result from everyone, including me. After his deposition, Cassidy called off their engagement. She couldn't handle the family drama. She wanted him to stay neutral, keep the peace. He texted me. She said I'm destroying the family. I told her they destroyed you first. My heart broke for him, but he didn't regret it. In March, Dr. Rebecca Walsh gave her deposition. 4 hours of testimony. She brought her complete file. Every letter, every note. 156 pages of documentation spanning 20 years. In 25 years of genetic counseling, she testified, I've never seen this level of deliberate concealment. This wasn't negligence. This was intentional. My parents' attorney asked, couldn't the parents have been acting in what they thought was their daughter's best interest? Dr. Walsh's response, a parent's best interest is keeping their child alive. They failed. The Tennessee Medical Ethics Board completed their investigation. Their ruling, parental concealment of genetic test results from minor patient constitutes medical neglect. Recommend policy change. Genetic test results must be disclosed to patient by age 18. Mandatory documentation of disclosure. The ruling didn't punish my parents directly. They weren't medical professionals. But it vindicated my case. It set a precedent. Force, the patient advocacy organization, reached out. Would I help lobby for legislation? I said yes. It's March 2026 now, 11 months since my diagnosis. My latest scan came back clear. NED, no evidence of disease. It's not cured. It's no cancer visible right now. I'll be monitored every 3 months for the next 2 years. Every 6 months after that. For the rest of my life. 5-year survival isn't guaranteed. But I'm alive. And I'm fighting. I joined the Force Leadership Board in February. Started speaking at genetic counseling conferences. Shared my story at BRCA awareness events. I'm working with Tennessee legislators on a proposed bill, the Genetic Information Rights for Minors Act, Bill number HB 1829. It requires genetic test results to be disclosed to patients by age 18. Parents cannot withhold them. Violation constitutes medical negligence. I spoke at my first conference in late February. 200 genetic counselors in the audience. I told them what happened to me. When I finished, they stood up. They clapped for 4 minutes. Afterward, a counselor came up to me crying. I have 3 families right now who aren't telling their kids about positive results. I'm going to show them your story. I started a blog. The file they hid. First post went viral. 15,000 shares in 48 hours. The comments broke me open. People sharing their own stories of genetic secrets, hidden diagnoses, parents who chose silence over health. One woman wrote, My mother knew I had Lynch syndrome for 15 years. She told me last month. I'm 38 and just got diagnosed with colon cancer. I'm not alone. None of us are. Austin moved to Chattanooga in February, 2 hours from Nashville, far enough from our parents to breathe, close enough to support me. We talk every day now. He's in therapy, processing complicated grief and guilt. He told me, I spent 31 years being the golden child. I want to spend the rest of my life being your brother. I met someone, Nate, from my BRCA support group. He's BRCA1 positive. He chose prophylactic surgeries at 29, preventive mastectomy, the works. He understands what it's like to live with these genes. Our first date, I told him about the lawsuit. He said, I hope you destroy them. I think I'm falling in love with him. Mrs. Chen is cancer-free now. We meet monthly for tea. She's become the maternal figure I chose. Bridget and I are close friends, the coworker who showed up when family didn't. This is my family now. Austin, Nate, Bridget, Mrs. Chen, the people who chose me, the people I chose back. My relationship with my parents? Zero contact. We will never reconcile. I've made peace with that. I changed my emergency contacts, my will, my medical proxy. Austin is listed everywhere. My parents are explicitly excluded. In late March, Dr. Rebecca Walsh reached out directly. We met for coffee in Memphis. She was emotional. I kept your file for 24 years because I knew someday you'd need it, she said. I'm sorry I couldn't reach you sooner, but I'm grateful you found the truth. She gave me her complete archive, all her letters, all her notes, her personal reflections on the case. This is yours now, she said. Your history, your proof. I hugged her. This stranger had fought for me when my own parents wouldn't. She told me, 3 other families have contacted me since your story went public. They're telling their children now. You're changing things already. The trial is in October, 6 months away. I'll face my parents again. But this time, I'm not their daughter begging for love. I'm the woman who survived what they did, and I'm taking the stand. I'm sitting at a coffee shop right now, the same one where I told Austin the truth. I'm writing a blog post about the confrontation. I'm looking at a photo on my phone. 2 test results side by side. Austin's negative, mine positive, both from April 15th, 2001. The caption I'm writing, one was celebrated, one was buried. Both were our truth. Only one of us got to know it. That ends now. For every child whose medical truth is being hidden, I'm fighting for your right to know. Your body, your genes, your truth. No parent gets to take that from you. The file they hid for 24 years is public now, and I'm making sure it saves the children they never tried to save. My name is Rhea Franks. I'm 33 years old. I survived cancer, but I'm still fighting the people who gave it to me.